Hello guys, here is Abdullah Zaghlul, and today's discussion is about software technical project manager, the ultimate guide. So if you are talking about this position, this one is hybrid one at the startup. So you are working at the business side as a coordinate project manager and at the technical one working as a technical lead. You are filling the gap between business and technicality. So you should have a good knowledge across software development life cycle, SDLC. Starting from planning phase, you are discussed with the business team you will do this feature or not. You are discussing ROI, return of investment of every feature. Then, if you say yes, we will do this feature, you are going to the next phase, which is defining one. So the team try to put all the requirement, making it a mature one, creating user stories, and the next is designing phase. So at the designing phase, you implement a visual part like the UI UX and the system design at the backend side, for example, here, how the component and service talk to each other, and then going for building phase or coding phase. So here is how the code will be written, and then going to testing phase, writing a unit test and integration test, system testing and manual testing across all over the system. And then you try to go for production at the deploying phase here, how you are merging your branches and going to production. And the final one is maintenance if you find any bug here. So you should remove the technical debt, add the technical part. So every sprint should have two type of requirement, business requirement and the technical requirement, like removing technical debt periodically per the time. Now we should have an implementable plan and ready tools, all-in-one solution to do SDLC all over our company and to automate the things and covering any missing position. So firstly, I'm a big fan of using Remote Bus as HR and finance platform. So Remote Bus provide you all what you need regarding HR and something like contracts, payroll, invoices, bills, day offs for your own employees. So you just as employer link your payment credential and write the contract, and the same for the employee or contractor. He will link his credential and the salary or payroll will be on time. So the next one is development and deployment, CI/CD. I'm a big fan of this combo. So you are using GitHub with GitHub Copilot as AI coding assistance and of course VS Code. This is because of maturity and wide range of support, and unifying things is a very good approach here. And if we talk about deployment, I will go for Koib. Koib is just an automatic layer above AWS, which based in AWS, and have all what you need here. Support you with domains and support you with serverless and the workers for background queues, database, serverless database like Neon based volumes and the storage. So once you go with Koib, you have a monitor all over your applications here, and you remove all the DevOps headache. So let's go for process management. The best all-in-one solution I have ever seen is two. ClickUp, and this one is called Zoho. So at Zoho, you have all-in-one platform. Once you open Zoho, you have access to all over the things. You don't need a Slack, you don't need anything. So you will not go with Jira, with Slack, with different things. No, no, no. You just have Zoho, and Zoho have a built-in emails, built-in task scheduling and calls, meetings, and all what you need for your workspace. And have a Kanban-based thing called Zoho Project, and have a Scrum One solution called Zoho Sprint, which links to our chat directly here. So this is the example for our team members, the CEO and the business side, and the technical project manager. And the tech team, let's say we have a full stack one with a front end and AI engineer. So how can you implement the SDLC now? This is according to different factors. So if you have a good backlog and have a vision about at least two sprint, you will go for Scrum. And if you don't have this, you will go for Kanban just to chain your tasks from stage to another. For example, done, doing, to do, or in testing here. and according to it, you will choose Zoho, which one, project or Zoho sprints. So if we talk about Kanban, we should have this example for Zoho project. You will have a user story which called task, and you will do definition of done priority, and any dependent stories should be sequential, and you will have at least at the design UI UX and the owner or the assigned person, you will have a task list which is your own team members. So we describe that we have artificial intelligence engineer and front end and the back end. And if we talk about how to implement the tasks and subtasks, so you shouldn't have a task above 4 hours. Any task above 4 hours should be split into subtasks, and the same flow for issues. Let's talk about technicality, starting from get flow. How can we go production? So firstly, we have a master branch and dev branch. So I will take a clone from the master to create a feature branch, and we'll take a clone from the master called the release branch, which is testing or staging here. So we will do our feature, then merge it to the release branch, and if we see it is okay, we will merge it to the master, and now the release act as a restore point to our master. So if we have two features, for example, we will have release and feature number one, and we have release with feature number two, and all of this is just a mirror for the master or a restore point for the master. You can reset the master to any point if you have an issue, an urgent one. And of course, you can fix the hotfix and merging it and creating a release branch for it. And any merged thing should be merged at the dev one. Simply that's it. And the naming convention should be the branch naming here, the name of the team, front end, back end, or AI, just a shortcut, front end here, and the task list, then underscore the task ID with task name. For example, this is a task ID at Zoho, and this is the name of the task. And here we go. Any sequential tasks should be at one feature branch, and just you can put it as commits inside it. Let's go for coding standards here. So I'm a big fan of using decoupled modular architect rather than monolith or microservice. I don't love bad engineering or over engineering here. So to implement this decoupled modular one, we should have a mediator module, which called an app module here and used for any shared things like dependency injection, container, and registering middlewares, anything like this. And any module need anything from another module should be used through the mediator one. So at the end, you can decouple any module efficiently. So for example, if we have app module and we have e-commerce module and ride-hailing module, and I need just to remove the ride-hailing module, all what I do is just taking the app module with the ride-hailing one. And the same for the other e-commerce module here, and we can implement modularity according to the business. So if we are working app-based or domain-based, what is app-based? It is a persona-based. So for example, if we have a hiring system and we have application for worker, application for customer, and another one for admin, another one for agency, so we can implement it as modules. Any module is regarding his own persona. And of course, we can implement it domain-based, as I mentioned above. So what about module structure? So I'm a big fan of making it simple and efficient, and we have the benefit from this. So for example, we have DTO layer. So the DTO is just types, interfaces, validation, inferred validation scheme. All of this is just a DTO. So you should know what you send and what you will receive at the front end and the back end side. A service layer, it is a business logic. So the feature required to do something. So this is the business logic. Repository is a data layer, not a database layer. So meaning if we have a question repository, it should return an array of questions. I'm not care about getting the question from database or environmental file or external API. This is according to the time factor leading. If I needed a static one, I just put the things as a JSON inside the environmental variable or just an external file without implementing a CRUD operation here. Utils is a logical logic or non-business logic. So you will but put anything not related to business logic. Just formatting your date or capitalize wording, something like this. And the naming convention should be pure language and framework. Stick to camel case or snake case here. As we discussed, the repository is a data layer, not only database layer, but also retrieve from different sources of data, like caching, API, env, and file. So we took this example, we have a setting and this record contain ID or key, OTP and the value mail. The same for the second record here, authentication and the value is phone here. So if we talk about this and using repository pattern, and we have two type of ORMs. So ORMs retrieve the data from database. So if we have data mapper, so data mapper examples like Prisma and the type ORM, it just return the record as a plain object from database, meaning this object doesn't carry any other database logic. So for example, once I get the setting here, find it, I cannot say setting update because the database logic is not here. So of course you need to implement a specific class, dedicated class for repository to retrieve the data and edit it and change the pagination logic, change the shape of data, hide something, get something, set something here. But if we are working with active record pattern ORMs, which is a feature-rich one like Laravel ORM and Lucid ORM. So once you retrieve the setting, you are retrieving a model instance, not only a plain object. So you can do update and all the database logic because it carries the database logic here. So if you need to implement a repository pattern, you have the database logic, so you can merge to it the cache and the API without creating an extra layer of complication like this, which is a most common approach today. So you need to create a method interface for repositories and bind it to service layer. All this is complication because if we check our code here, we try to find by ID, which is find it here with the same parameters, and the same for get all. So you can use composition at PHP using a trait. So you can separate your cache layer at a separate trait, and the same for API, env, and file, and you just use this trait. This is called composition, not inheritance, and you can drop it. So once you have the model, you will have all the logic of repository, and you can utilize it not just a database source, but also a full repository. And I will give you the example across three main framework: Nuxt, which is Nitro based at the backend, and Laravel and Nest.js. So let's go with Prisma here, and I have this endpoint called settings. So it will return called the service layer. So the service layer will get the repo here, and if it doesn't found the setting, you can do your exception business logic here. So let's go for the setting repo here. I want to retrieve it from, I will implement a wrapper method called getAll. And you can use it without this wrapper, and you can use with wrapper. For example, I may say from ANV, from API, from database directly here. This will make you change just the method name inside the service. But if you plan to never change anything in the service, you just go for get all and call the needed method here. So I want to retrieve the setting from cache, so I will run my project here. So now we can check our API here using Nuxt dev tool. I want to check API slash setting. It returns the needed data here. The key is OTP and value mail, the same for authentication and phone. So it returns it from what? From cache. So as you can see here, fetching from config, this is the first time using the cache because inside this cache one, as we can see here, this method, it returned it from the config, which is from the environment variable, then it cached it. So the first time will be from the config, but if we retry again here, so of course it will get from cache. And if we retry again, it still get it from the cache. So let's change our logic without affecting all of service. So I want to go here, say from caching from config here directly, it will say the following. It retrieved from config here. And the same if we change from API. So we have another endpoint. Try to fetch it from another endpoint here, returning OTP and value. It will be internal or external one, not a big deal right now, just for the example. And if we check our console here, it said retrieved from API. And let's go from another database source, which is database itself here. So I want to say from DB here. Yeah, we'll make it from DB. And once we check, it gets the data from database source as we need it. So you can change all the logic without affecting your service. This is at the data mapper one. Let's go for the Laravel Eloquent instead of this Prisma data mapper one. Using Laravel is very easy. Let's track slash API slash setting. So this endpoint will go to setting service list method, and the service here calls a model as a repository because at Laravel our model carry our database logic. So we can merge any other functionality like getting from ANV, from cache, from API as a trait using composition. This is the simplest way without any boilerplate, without any complication. So let's go from API. This one we can couple and decouple it easily. And now we have from API logic and from ANV, for example, here. Let's go for it. So I get the environment variable of setting, this one, as you can see here. I want to open it. Now it will return the setting. Then I will do hydrate for this JSON. So let's go and try our endpoint right now. So this is slash API slash setting. It works fine as we need here. It is OTP and mail and authentication. And let's go from changing from cache to from API. The same logic will be founded here. And if we change it to from ANV or from config, yeah, from cache also, all this one is working fine here. So I want to return the same result here. Let's check our Nest.js TypeORM decorator-based approach. This is our setting controller and routing to slash get here. So it calls the setting service get all, and this one calls the setting repository get all. And the setting repository is using the entity of type ORM now, and it uses dependency injection of Nest.js. So the config service and the HTTP service is ready, and the cache manager is ready. So it will be used for the needed method here. So this method is get all. So it retrieves the setting from cache. So if I do a refresh here, it returns it from cache. So let's go for this approach. This one is using the cache manager. Okay, let's go from ANV. It will still work. So our logic is still fine. It will do a reload here. Yeah, it is work. And it says that get from config, as we said here. It will get from config using the config service and parsing the JSON. The same from DB, the same for the others using the HTTP call here from DB. Yeah, it works. It was just restarting. Now it works. Let's go from API. The same result will be found. So you should do as we said right now.